Well, welcome to this episode of Did She Really Say That? I am your host, Katrina van Oudheusden, and I'm excited to have this conversation with Lori Palm today. And as you know, us as women entrepreneurs, we have so much going on in our lives all the time. The Create Her Planner really allows for you to, for the first time, to experience time through the female flow. And what's really fascinating is as our guest Lori is here, you're going to understand how your passion, which you know, ladies, is a word I love in reference to women, because our passions drive us. And when we talk about core passions, this really is something that was a game changer. And when I started talking to Lori, I was like, you have got to be on our podcast. Did she really say that? Because this conversation is going to be eye-opening. Now, who is Lori? Well, she's the CEO of this amazing company called Core Passions. Now, she's been a lifelong entrepreneur. She is an expert. She's what I call a modern day muse. And honestly, I think more women, you need to embrace this title because that's truly who you are. You are muses in the world. Now, she did something that goes against the traditional norm. She actually went after your core passions. How many of you have taken so many self-assessment tests out there? You've done the strength finders, the disc, the blah, the blah. I think I've taken them all. 16 personalities. Good Lord, the list could go on. This, as Lori's about to share with us, is vastly different. As an entrepreneur and groundbreaking businesswoman, she could always see what was unseen in business opportunities, right? She could always see what others couldn't see. Her diverse background in business, including earning degrees in social work and achieving a Series 7 license in financial services, makes her very unique. Not only that, one tidbit she told me that I think is fascinating is that she's a trumpet player in a rock band. You know what, Lori? I'm going to stop highlighting you and really just dive into the meat of this conversation. So, welcome to our podcast. Did she really say that, Lori? It's an honor to have you here.
Oh, great. Well, I am very excited to talk anything around passion, of course, I love to talk about. Um, yeah, that title, and it is one of my titles, Modern Day Muse. I have been using that title for over 20 years. And
What?
I think, oh, yeah, and global passion expert, those two are my besides CEO. And I think that, people have said to me, well, you can't say that in a business setting. I said, yes, that is who I am, and it's what I do. It's some of my greatest gifts and
Mm,
strengths are in that title. And I think for anybody out there, when we believe who we are, and that's what the core passion assessment does, we created an assessment, as you said, that measures the energy and the driving force behind all your decisions, your
mm,
actions, your behaviors, and it always has. And when we created the assessment over in 2003, so
right.
it's 22 years old. And I think, it was way ahead of its time, as all those things are, that the world would be ready for it. Well, it wasn't quite ready for it, but it definitely is now. And when you look at who are you, because to
Mm.
me, when you know who you are, you know what to do and you get results. So we focus on who are you and what do you want to accomplish and where are you going? And I think that, and how are you going to get there? And how do you use these strengths of who you are, these gifts, we call them gifts, to get there? And of course, your greatest gift is also your greatest challenge. And when you think of it from an energy standpoint, so the thing that makes you so good at what you do when you're out of balance, we call it a challenge. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just out of balance energy. And that's
Yes.
what brings you down. So understand, and sometimes those connections, the greatest gift and the greatest challenge, you don't know that they're connected. And that's what
Mm.
our assessment does. It shows you how those are connected.
So I'm going to pause right here because I think there's
Yeah.
a lot you just said that we're going to unpack. So first off, I'm going to head back to the modern day muse and your understanding of this because I've actually hired a business muse when I had one of my biggest aha breakthroughs. Like it was the one that really set the course for Create Her and everything we've done, from the planner to the reset to all of it, right? And then she felt like she couldn't get ground with it. So I love that you say that, because I feel like sometimes as a woman, we do feel as ourselves as a muse. We do find ourselves leading from our true authentic self, but the language that expresses who we are as women has been kind of, like, the word muse has been kind of turned into maybe an inappropriate word, or a word that is so mystical that it doesn't have grounding in reality. And I want to just kind of touch upon with my listeners here in our audience is that this is an awesome word, and the fact that Lori has embraced it for 20 years, I'm telling you right now, this is brilliant, honestly.
Yes, and it's I say modern day muse.
Yeah.
So it's, that's the title. And I think, it wasn't until for me when I understood what was my gift, what was I really good at. My sister, who's a CPA, it's all about the numbers. She used to say when people would ask her what I did, and I had my own business and I had the speakers bureau and I was doing all this stuff. And she would say, I don't really know what she does. She just goes out to lunch all the time. And so, but what I discovered is when I would go out to lunch with people and we'd start talking, we'd be talking business and different things. And by the time lunch was done, they're all inspired to start new things and do this. And I thought, what just happened? I
Yeah.
mean, and then
That's your calling.
yeah, when I could put words to that,
Mm.
then you can charge for it.
No,
And
and I'm
then
gonna stop you there, because that is so true. And I want, because even I struggled with that, to be honest, Lori. It's like I had a hard time putting together like words for what I do and who I am, and that kind of like the language for this. So there is that sense that I think as women we're kind of trying to find our language again. So I love that you're saying, like, I'm the modern day muse. I inspire, I create, and I help you find your passion and use that in the
Mhm.
world, right? Like really clearly define it
And help you make money
and make
doing what
money.
you feel called to do. And so now my sister said after that, she said, if you can make money being a muse, anybody can make money doing anything. Because, and
Truth.
it's the belief and confidence in yourself
Yeah.
and creating yours. Now, isn't your title, if I remember right, chef?
It is. So I was a chef at Disney for a little over 13 years, and I retired, but still carry that creative system, fun food play into everything I do.
Yes. See, you wouldn't think that would tie into what you do, but it does. And you're owning that. It's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I think when we can come up with that language of who we are, to me, and know it and embrace it, that's the key to moving forward with your business.
Yeah, I think there's a skill set that you start to develop, and I think innately as women, Lori, and I'd love to hear like your kind of thoughts around this. I think as women, we innately, like, we feel things, but necessarily giving them words doesn't always, like, it's hard as a woman to kind of explain what we're feeling, the intuition. It doesn't have a true language yet. Would you agree with that?
Um, yes and no.
Cool.
Because that's a big piece of what the core passion assessment does is give you a language for all
Ooh.
these things of why you do what you do. And the same things keep happening over and over in our life. And it's like, how did this happen again? Especially when you're in the challenge. And when you can put words to what's happening, I
Hmm.
mean, I've had, who really loves the assessment? When women, of course, love it, but men, engineers and IT people, they're not very good communicators
Hmm.
necessarily. And this gives them a language. And when you start to use these kinds of words in your LinkedIn profile, in your bio, all of a sudden it's about who you are, not just what you do. And
Hmm.
so we give you a lot of words about what drives you and who you are. So, but it's difficult to put those words and then to own the words.
Yeah.
That's tricky part too.
So how did you come up with core passion? Like what sparked that?
Well, okay, ready for a little story. Um,
Yes.
I I was doing this. I had a speakers bureau. This was back a long time ago. And so I would help people, just what I do now, look at, I always said, we're looking for what are the unique words of wisdom that you have that nobody else has in exactly the way that you do. And of course,
Mm,
that's what you market. What makes you unique? And so I would do this, and it would take hours to figure, to pull it out of people. Well, then somebody came into my life, and her name is Lori as well. And my middle name is Lee, and her middle name is Lee, but it's spelled differently. So, anyway, kind of a real, karmic thing. And she said to me, she was doing some work with me, and she said, we can duplicate you. And I said, no, you can't. I'm all about uniqueness. You can't duplicate me. And she said, well, of course we can't duplicate you, but we can duplicate your process.
hmm.
I didn't even know I had a process. I just, you know, I did what I did. That was that musing part. But once I saw that, yes, we did have a process. And we used and she helped, and she is still with us today in terms of my web master, my guru of all things technology, because we put this online in the very beginning. And that was, nobody was doing that.
You're way ahead of your curve in
Oh,
2003. You were before like
oh, yeah.
Facebook, you were before any of this happened. So yeah, you are pioneering in the internet
And
world.
I can tell you that technology is a black hole.
Yes,
It's
agree.
been, we have not, so we use a top methodologist. Those are the people who create assessments to create the assessment. And I just gave her all this stuff, all these words, and she created the assessment. Now, when you create an assessment, apparently, you create it, and then they test it, and then they make changes, and it takes a long time. This came out of the box, valid and reliable, right out of the box.
Wow.
That doesn't happen.
It
This is
doesn't.
core words, core energy. I call it energy. And it is,
It is
it's
energy.
me, it's measuring, it's measuring the frequency of your inner spirit. That's what it's
Mm,
measuring. And it's giving you words for who you are and why you do what you do, and all of that stuff. And it has a graph in numbers. That's why I can bring it into corporate.
mm,
Because if I didn't have that, you know, but when you can measure it, and that's what it does, and it works. Um, and so that's how we came to get the assessment. Sorry, that was
mm.
kind of a long story.
No, it was a perfect story because I think, as women, as the audience is listening to us, they've got ideas running through their heads. They want to know how it's put together. And a lot of us, especially women, we are looking for language. We are looking for our passions. That aligns, I think, in a lot of ways for us women is because we are so inundated with so much masculine language that sometimes passion, it feels like we need permission to accept passion into our life, accept desire into our life, and to receive that. So I love that you come from the passion. I love that you're bringing in words that help people to really articulate who they are at their core, because these are their core passions. So how many core passions are there in the assessment?
We call them the core passion codes. There's
Okay.
12. There's 12. And we all have all 12 inside of us. But the top, we call it the top five or six, are your strong drivers. That's where your greatest gifts and your greatest challenges are. And
Mm.
so understanding that and understanding why you do what you do is so key, because we look at other people and we think they're doing things for the same reason we are. Looks like we're all doing I use the example of moving furniture. Looks like we're all just moving furniture. And yet, if your core passion code is service, let's start with partnership. That's
Okay.
one of my top ones. And I move the furniture, move things because the energy isn't right. feng
Mm,
shui, the flow isn't right. Just looks like I'm moving things, but that's why I move things. Somebody who is high in form, they move the furniture, they get it in the exact right spot, and it never moves again because
mm,
they're getting it perfect. Somebody who's high in service, like my sister, she moves the furniture when somebody asks her to help. That's when you'll see. It all looks like we're just moving the furniture, but when you understand why you're doing what you do, and that's what the core passion helps you understand
mm.
why you do what you do. And I think that that is key, particularly in business, to know why am I feeling called to do this? And the word passion. So when we started this was 2003. And that's when we created the assessment. And at that time, I was in uh, a national women's business group,
Okay.
and they were women who made a lot of money, had big businesses, and I had my little business, and I would say what I did, and they were all, "Oh, that's really nice."
Mm.
The pat on the head.
Yep.
And then in 2006, Stephen Covey came out with the eighth habit. He started talking about passion in business. I went out to Washington, D.C. that year. First in the spring, I was meeting all these people. They were just, they were nice. They liked me, but there was no business there.
Yep.
By the fall, when that book came out, it was like a switch turned. Everybody, and I wasn't saying anything different, but everybody wanted to know more. They were all interested. It was like, the 100th monkey concept. All of a sudden, everybody wanted to know about passion in business. And so what passion meant shifted.
Yes.
And it was an amazing time to feel the difference in 6 months from what had happened. So I agree. Passion now, everybody's talking about passion and purpose in business. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people, and women particularly, they're looking for that.
The more so, I would say I hear a lot of it from women in all my interviews and my conversations. Passion is a big one for women. And also in the younger generation, I would say those in their 20s to about early 30s. I'm definitely hearing it from those women also. They're like, I just want to feel it's like something I'm passionate about. I want to have something that lights me up, that inspires me, or usually the language that's being used. They don't want just the job, they don't want just the money. They want something that brings them joy in what they're doing. And so it's really interesting. I think when you talk about passion, and I do remember, because I remember the 7 habits of highly successful people, and then I do remember there was the revision of the eighth habit. And I was like, okay. And that, when you talk about, my time at Disney, I had started to shift. Like I was reading those books and I wasn't reading food trending books. So I knew at some point this was my shift in my break, right? When I was becoming more fascinated with Stephen Covey, when I walked into the kitchen and I said, Zig Ziglar passed today. And everybody in the office and kitchen looked at me and said, who? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is no longer like my world, right? Because people that were inspiring me were not even on the radar of those that I was working with in the kitchen. So I was like, that's when I discovered that yes, I had been intrigued by the kitchen, but my passion lay elsewhere. Right. And I think that's that part of the journey. So I do have a question for you. We're kind of right here in the middle of our conversation. So part of this podcast is we make pretty bold statements. I mean, did she really say that, Lori? Is kind of a
Yeah.
moment there. So I want to ask you, at any time, having talked to a client or a business, did you ever get a reaction? You said something to them and they looked at you and were like, did she just really say that?
Yes, that's I think I think yes, especially in the earlier years, not so much now.
Mm,
When I'm talking about passion or energy, the energy that drives you and we measure it. And I think that, when I'm doing training, I actually bring divining rods. Do you know what they are?
Yes, I know what a divining rod is. I love
Okay.
those.
And I measure the energy of people because I show them
Mm.
what's the energy that you're putting out, and what's the energy you're bringing into the workplace. And so I think divining rods bringing, saying, we're going to measure your energy. And they're like,
You're
it,
gonna do what? Yeah.
exactly. And they're blown away.
Mm.
They're blown away every single time when I show them, and I use somebody out of the audience, and have them. I do it 3 different times and show them what happens, and they're like, and then I let them try it. I
Mhm.
bring several divining rods, and I'll let people try it. In fact, I was at an event about a couple of months ago, and I had spoken at this event a few months before that. And I had several people come up to me and say, I went online and I bought some divining rods, and my family were just we're really understanding what's happening. And I thought, wow, you wouldn't have thought that would happen.
Well, you wouldn't just think that divining rods being in the presence of a corporate meeting or an event would be so well accepted. I mean, in some respects, Lori, you're setting a new precedence around what's possible when you bring in your core desires, when you're actually able to measure energy, and then
Mhm.
you're looking at how does that affect, the workspace, you yourself, how you work with your family, how you feel about yourself in every aspect of your business and in your life. And I'm going to touch upon this, Lori, because I know this was one of the things that you and I are both highly passionate about. We can talk business and helping women make money and get leads and make sales and understand themselves. But the one thing that I see that really is the next conversation is how to build wealth. There's one thing to make money, but it's another thing to start having a wealth building strategy behind us as women doing the heavy lifting and understanding that the business might be the forefront, but it's nothing more than the top of a funnel. Just in marketing, it's the top of the funnel for a wealth building strategy. So let's talk a little bit about money here because money is energy too.
Absolutely. I love to talk about money. I think you and I talked about this when we had our conversation, our initial conversation about I have a program called a love affair with money,
Yes.
creating a love affair with money. And I think that's so key, just as you said, and allowing women to believe that they can make money and they can accept it and they can make a lot of money. And I hear that a lot. And so when I look at it from the standpoint of the core passion codes, like somebody who's high in service, they just want to give and give and give, and they have a really hard time charging.
Yes.
And and then even if they do charge, can they accept it? Can
Yeah, the money comes in and then it has a tendency to go right back out again. I have a few people that do that.
Yes, and so the challenges with money can be either maybe you can make a lot of money, but you can't let it go.
Mm.
You can't spend it. Or like you said, it comes in and it goes right out because we're not feeling like we deserve to keep it.
Ooh. Oh, that landed. Somebody in the audience heard that one. How many of you have said, "Oh, I don't deserve that type of money, that type of wealth. I'm unworthy of it." How many of you women have heard that? Even a couple of my gentlemen, I know you're listening. We
And I
all say
think
it.
I think that when oh, I just lost my train of thought. So I think it'll come
Oh,
back.
it when
Um,
we yeah. So and it's because we feel undeserving. The money's important, but your love affair with money. Like I even love the language you use for that. Your love affair with money.
mhm. And I have a great exercise called First Date with Money. And
This.
it really it's it's amazing and it hits you in the heart. I remember the first time we ever uh, did it with a group of business people, and I
Yeah.
had them, I said, okay, now you've been on, I don't even know what are the things where you meet somebody online. I don't know even
Oh,
know.
the dating app world.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
what,
What
whatever,
a, yeah.
And
Terrible,
so I
horrible,
said,
no
okay,
good, very
so
bad
you're going to
place.
meet them in person now for the first time. So we're going to set the stage. And I had little, made little tags of $100 bills. So one person was money, and then the other person was who they are. And then I had a list of questions. And I mean, people got into it emotionally. It's like, so one of the questions that money asks is, so why do you want to be with me?
Mm.
I mean, these are questions that you would ask, not too deep, but on a first date.
Hmm.
But it's about your relationship with money. And I believe that it is a relationship with money. And, are you having coffee with your money? Are you having wine with your money? Do you understand your money? Do you understand the numbers? Because if you don't, which most people don't,
True.
they're pulling a number out of the air for what they're going to charge, but it doesn't have any relationship or meaning. And so it's really hard for them um, to then
Receive it.
believe the number. So then they can't really sell it because they don't really believe it, but they don't know what the right number is. When you
Yeah.
get the right number, you can sell it.
Oh yeah.
I
It's
mean,
not
don't
even
you
a
believe
brainer.
that?
You're like, that's easy. That I've had that. It's shocking to me, to be honest, because I've had moments where I have been able to, sell $25,000 coaching programs, $50,000 coaching programs, and the ask for it was simple because you know what it is that you're offering. You understand the relationship that it has for that person, and you understand the delivery of what it's going to do to change their life. And I think that for me was the game changer. It stopped becoming about me and it became more about this isn't an ask for me, this is an ask for transformation. And are they willing to receive it? Because the money is the exchange of saying, yes, I'm ready to receive this transformation in my life.
Yes. And I think three words that I always tell people to think about: equal energy exchange.
Agree.
If it's not, and that's, you just described it. That was an equal, whatever it is, it's an equal energy exchange. And people who are high in service or compassion, they think, well, this is a gift I have. I can't charge for it. But the thing is, you're giving it, you're working with somebody, and if they don't, if they can't, if you they can't give you anything in return, or you can't accept it and receive it, they can't also receive what you're giving them, because there has to be an equal energy exchange in every relationship.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would 100% agree. And what came to mind as you were saying that is I've always been a pushback against the whole free mentality because free is a money exchange is zero for zero. So while you might have put an effort to create a lead magnet or something like that, that zero, that energy that you put into it to exchange it for zero, it doesn't always feel good. So I think that's why sometimes we don't value a free product. We don't value when something is just given to us without like an emotional connection. I look back throughout my life and the things that mean the most to me have almost no value, but they have an emotional connection, which is that, again, that energy piece, that
Mhm,
passion piece
mhm,
behind it. So, yeah, I think as women in business, the one thing I honestly hear all of the time, Lori, I don't know what to charge for my services. I'm unclear of, what I'm really bringing to the market. I have high passion. I have multiple things I want to do. Can I do it all?
mhm,
And I think the answer at the end of the day is like you can accomplish whatever you choose to focus on.
mhm.
And I think
And
it starts with understanding your core passions, which is why I say get Lori's product.
yes,
Yeah, that's
to
where I'm
the
going with that.
website. Go to the
Yes, go to
website.
the
You can buy
website
it online.
corepassion.com. Like
It's a
let's
20,
start
you
this
get a
movement.
21-page report and a lot of videos with me talking and explaining everything. And yeah, it's that. And so what you were just saying about the money and what do I charge, that's why it's so important to have a relationship with money and with the numbers. And that's what I say, when you sit down with your numbers, make it like you're having a conversation with your numbers,
Yeah.
you know, because that's what it is. And you're having a relationship. And I say have a love affair, because the more you love, the more you're going to bring in. And love and money are the same energy.
Say that
Okay?
again. I think the one everyone you need to hear this again. Lori, please say that again.
Love and money have the same energy.
Mm.
And so if you look at your relationships in life and your relationship to money, they're probably going to be very similar. Not always, but
That's
love and money are the same relationship, same energy.
I believe it, and I know it. And when you start even to love yourself and you start giving it out of love and you take care of self first, you'd be shocked how easy it is to receive money into your life. And
Yes.
when you're lit up around your passions, it changes everything yet again. So we are wrapping this up, Laura. I feel like this time has just flown by.
I know it has.
I've
It's been
enjoyed
so
this conversation.
fun.
Yes, but this is a teaser, right? So all my listeners out there, for our audience, for did she really say that? This is Lori. She has been around in building the core passion since 2003. This means that she's vested in this. You want to talk about committed to a project, committed to changing the world, committed to making a difference. You're hearing this from Lori right now, right? And this is where I invite you in. You all of you women are looking for a different way to excuse me, bring in your team members, understand who you're working with. Why not bring on a client and have them take a core passion assessment? Understand how you're going to serve them in a way that they need to hear it and match that energy with them. Would you agree, Lori?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a game changer.
Yeah. So if you're doing a high ticket coaching, if you're doing anything in business, we are always looking to better understand and serve.
Mhm.
So, core passion, start one. And then I will tell you, as a business owner, or ladies, I am sitting here, I'm now drooling. I'm going to have to follow up with this, Lori. I want the love affair with my money course. So, after this, I'm heading over there because I think that this is, again, it's a tool for me, and I can feel, literally feel over here, the type of conversations and what we need to be talking with each other as women. I love working with women. I love having this conversation. I love working and having those private groups. I host retreats, and I think this would be a great conversation to bring in, is that first thing, how to date your money. So I might even have to bring you in and have you just train on that
Oh,
conversation. So
absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
could be fun. All right. Well, thank you again, Lori, for your time. Any last words of wisdoms to our audience and our listeners around core passion and why this is such an integral piece they need to have in their lives?
Well, I think it's essential to understand who you are, and when you understand who you are, you will know what to do, and you're
Mm.
going to get the results that you want. So it all starts with knowing who you are.
And the last words I'll leave with you is that, Lori mentioned that your greatest strengths, your greatest gifts could also be your greatest challenges. And in the world of yin and yang, the balance of both and understanding that energy within you is going to become is so important as you're growing as a female leader in your business, in your company. This is where I invite you to really step into who you are, grab hold of the core passions, get to know Lori, go take this assessment, get your 21-page report, and let's have some fun. Let's continue this dialogue. And I am so thankful for you, Lori, and what you've created. Continue to push the needle, continue to move forward. I know you've got speaking engagements that are coming up. What's next for Core Passion before we sign off today?
Well, one of the things that I'm really exploring, we have some other apps that go with the tools, and I think that one of them is called code talking. How do we talk to each other? How do you talk to somebody who is not have the same drivers that you do? But the other thing that I'm really exploring right now is what's our relationship with AI?
Mm,
And what I'm reading right now is we have to learn to collaborate with AI, and you have to ask a good question if you're going to get any kind of a good answer from AI.
so
And
true.
so this is some new areas that I'm exploring with core passion is, and we're actually creating our own AI through our technology stuff. But I think that that's going to be key for all of us to understand that whole another relationship.
It is, and it is a relationship, and there, and you're absolutely right. We could totally dive into this on another episode of Did She Really Say That? Because that is going to be, I think, our future series that we're going to bring in. And next season is really diving into the world of AI, how it affects us as women in business. So, again, Lori, thank you so much. Again, to my audience and listeners, down in the show notes are all the ways you can connect with Lori, some more information about her, her website, how to get access to the assessment, everything you need. Definitely connect with her. So thank you again for all my listeners. If you're enjoying our podcast, you know what to do. Give it a 5-star rating, comment below, let Lori know that you love her, because we want this to be an engaging part of your day. With that, thank you for joining us here on Did She Really Say That? And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.